Hi everyone. A lot of you have been talking about fatigue lately. And the patients I'm seeing, I'm noticing that that's become an even more common complaint than it normally is. And there's so much you can do and so much you can investigate to understand why you're feeling fatigued. But one thing I like to ask people is, are you fatigued all day? Is it kind of a uniform fatigue? Or does your energy have a typical pattern? Do you have more energy in the morning and your energy flags as the day goes on? Or do you wake up feeling really sluggish first thing, like unrefreshed from your night's sleep? So let's break it down. If your energy is better in the morning and diminishes as the day goes on, I think of adrenal fatigue, because you make more cortisol in the morning, which should be the fuel that your body runs on, and it dwindles as the day goes on, and that decline is going to be much more precipitous if your adrenals are fatigued. Also, you're experiencing stress as you're going throughout your day, and that uses up your adrenal cortical hormones. And so if you find yourself kind of depleted later on, especially if you've had a stressful day or you've exercised or something like that, that's another clear sign of adrenal fatigue. So what can you do about it? You can take adaptogenic herbs like ashwagandha and rhodiola. There's phenomenal data on both of those. And you can use adrenal glandulars, which I think are incredibly supportive in low energy situations. Okay, so on the other side, if you have the type of fatigue where you wake up and you feel incredibly unrefreshed first thing in the morning, and then your energy actually improves as the day goes on, I would think about sleep disruption and sleep dysfunction as a potential underpinning, but I also think about the thyroid, because classically, if your thyroid is low, you're going to feel sluggish in the morning, and your energy will finally get better as the day goes on. So if this is the type of fatigue you have, you should ask your doctor to run a thyroid panel on you, where you're testing TSH, free T3, free T4, and perhaps a total T3, and maybe even autoantibodies against the thyroid, in order to really understand how well the thyroid is functioning. If you've got just fatigue that's all day long, pretty uniform all day long, and that fatigue is also associated with a flu-like feeling, where you feel like you're not only fatigued, but sick, that's usually from an infection. And viral infections are by far and away the most common. And if it's a chronic situation, it's usually related to a reactivation of one of the herpes family viruses. So Epstein-Barr, HHV6, and cytomegalovirus virus are viruses we all come in contact with, usually by the time we're 18. And if our immune systems are in good shape and we're not under too much stress, we keep them dormant in our system and they don't bother us. But if our adrenals get fatigued, we get under too much stress, or we get sick for a different reason, sometimes the stress of all of that can allow for the virus to reactivate and proliferate in kind of a low-grade way, so that a person actually feels like they have a low-grade version of mono. There's a lot of people that are walking around feeling like this all the time. And sometimes they also notice that there's a redness to the back of their throat. They might feel slightly tender lymph nodes in their neck and maybe their armpits. Those are also clues that there's an infection at play. And I would recommend you see your doctor and ask to have your blood tested for either antibodies against these viruses, or much better yet, T-cell responses against viral antigens. The T-cell testing, relatively new to the United States, is the best way to decipher between having immunity against the virus and actually having an active viral infection. So they'll take your T cells expose them to different viral antigens and see how they respond, to see if they produce inflammatory intermediates. And if they do, that indicates you have an active virus infection right now. When you have the right information, then you can employ the right treatments in order to get yourself feeling better. And when it comes to treating viruses, there's a lot of options. Not all of them work all the time, but there's herbal options, there's nutraceutical options, there's intravenous therapies, and there's pharmaceuticals. And so I encourage you to see an integrative doctor that's skilled in using all of these things. And so if there is a fatigue component without this kind of like swollen lymph node, flu-like feeling, but you've got some other targeted symptoms such as some neurological problems or, like brain fog or other associated symptoms, then there might be a different infectious underpinning to take a look at. Could you have Lyme or some other tick-borne disease? Could you have a chronic bacterial infection with mycoplasma or chlamydia? Or could you have infection at the site of an extracted wisdom tooth or at the site of a root canal? These are things, hidden sources of infection in people that can really drag the energy down. So I encourage you to take a deep dive with a doctor that's skilled at doing that. And most causes of fatigue are reversible. And all it requires is understanding the true underpinnings and doing something about them.